Captain Jake Morrison stood on the bridge of the UES Valiant, watching the stars through the main screen. His coffee had gone cold an hour ago, but he kept holding the cup anyway. Space was quiet today. Too quiet. The communication officer, Lieutenant Ben Parker, looked up from his station. His face was pale. "Sir, we're getting something from New Terra Colony. The signal is breaking up." Jake set down his coffee and walked over. "Put it through." The speakers crackled with static. Then a voice came through, shaky and scared. "This is Colony Leader Dan Phillips on New Terra. We have multiple contacts on our sensors. Big ships. Really big ships. They're not responding to our calls." Jake felt his stomach drop. New Terra was supposed to be safe. It was deep in human space, protected by patrol ships and defense platforms. "Dan, this is Captain Morrison on the Valiant. What's your status?" More static. Then Dan's voice again, but rushed now. "Jake, these ships are huge, bigger than anything we've ever seen. They're moving into attack formation. Our defense grid is powering up, but I don't think it's going to be enough." The bridge went silent. Everyone was listening now. Jake grabbed the microphone. "Dan, get your people to the shelters. We're on our way." No time. Dan's voice was getting weaker. "They're firing. The orbital platforms are gone. The ships are targeting the surface now. I can see the energy beams from here. They're burning everything." A loud explosion came through the speakers, then screaming in the background. "Dan!" Jake shouted. "Dan, respond!" "They're hitting the main city." Dan's voice was barely a whisper now. "Millions of people, Jake. They're killing millions of people. Why would they do this? We never hurt anyone." Another explosion, louder this time. The transmission started, breaking up again. "Jake, if you can hear this, tell Earth what happened here. Tell them these aliens don't want to talk. They don't want our resources. They just want us dead. All of us dead." The signal went to static. Then nothing. Jake stared at the speaker. His hands were shaking. "Ben, try to re-establish contact." "I'm trying, sir. But the signal is completely gone. It's like the whole colony just disappeared." Jake turned to his navigation officer. "Katie, how long to reach New Terra?" Lieutenant Katie Ross checked her instruments. "At maximum speed. 18 hours, sir." "Set course. Maximum speed." "Sir," his tactical officer spoke. "Up. If those ships are still there—" "I know, Matt. I know." Jake looked around the bridge. His crew was scared. He was scared too. "But we have to see what happened. We have to help if anyone is still alive." The ship turned and jumped to faster-than-light speed. For 18 hours, they traveled through the darkness between stars. Nobody talked much. Everyone was thinking about Dan Phillips and the millions of people on New Terra. When they dropped out of faster-than-light speed near New Terra, they found nothing. The planet was still there, but it was dark. No lights from cities, no signals from orbital stations, no defense platforms. Just a dead world covered in smoke and fire. "Scanning the surface," Katie said, her voice quiet. "I'm reading massive energy weapon impacts. The cities are gone, sir. All of them." Jake closed his eyes. "Any survivors?" "Negative. No life signs anywhere on the planet." Matt was checking his instruments. "Sir, I'm reading debris fields where the orbital platforms used to be. And something else. Energy signatures from the weapons that did this. They're not human." "Alien weapons?" "Yes, sir. But like nothing in our databases, this technology is way beyond anything we've seen before." Jake opened his eyes and looked at the dead planet. 2 million people had lived on New Terra yesterday. Today they were all gone. "Sir," Ben called, out. "I'm getting messages from Earth Command. Multiple colonies have gone dark in the last 6 hours." "Which ones?" "New Athens, Port Washington, Liberty Station, Freedom Point, and New Dallas. All of them stopped transmitting at almost the same time." Jake felt the blood drain from his face. Those were some of their biggest colonies. Millions more people. "Any contact with any of them?" "Negative, sir. Complete communication blackout. Set course for Earth. Best possible speed. The trip back to Earth took 12 hours. During that time, more colonies went dark. By the time they reached home, 7 human colonies had been destroyed. Over 5 million people were dead. Admiral Helen Carter was waiting for them at Earth Defense Command. She looked like she had aged 10 years in one day. Her usually neat uniform was wrinkled, and her eyes were red from lack of sleep. "Jake," she said as soon as he walked into the briefing room. "Tell me about New Terra." "Gone," Jake said simply. "Everything is gone. The cities, the orbital platforms, the people. All of it burned from space." Helen nodded slowly. "Same story from all the other colonies. Our patrol ships found the same thing everywhere. Complete destruction. No survivors." "Who did this?" Jake asked. "We don't know yet, but we're about to find out." Helen activated a large screen on the wall. 20 minutes ago, we received this transmission. The screen showed an alien face. It was tall and thin, with blue-gray skin and large black eyes. When it spoke, its voice was cold and emotionless. "Humans of Earth," the alien said. "I am War Commander, Thexval of the Zephyrian Empire. Your species has expanded beyond your birth system. This expansion threatens the stability of our region of space. We have therefore eliminated your colony worlds as a warning." The alien paused, staring directly into the camera. "You will immediately cease all expansion beyond your solar system. You will recall all ships and stations from interstellar space. You will remain within the boundaries of your birth system for all time. If you attempt to leave again, we will destroy your home world and eliminate your species entirely." The screen went dark. The briefing room was silent for a long moment. Then Jake spoke. "They killed 5 million people as a warning?" "It appears so," Helen said. "And they're threatening to kill everyone on Earth if we don't obey." "What are we going to do?" Helen looked out the window at Earth hanging in space below them. Billions of people going about their daily lives, not knowing that aliens had just threatened to wipe them all out. "I don't know," she said quietly. "But I know what we're not going to do. We're not going to hide in our solar system like scared children. Humanity didn't come this far to give up now." Jake nodded. "What do you need from me?" "Go home, Jake. Get some rest. Tomorrow, we start planning our response." As Jake left the building, he looked up at the stars. Somewhere out there, the aliens who had murdered 5 million humans were probably celebrating their easy victory. They thought they had scared humanity into submission. They had no idea how wrong they were. Captain Susan Moore floated in the darkness between stars, watching her ship die. The UES Phoenix was burning. Hull breaches vented atmosphere into space, while internal fires consumed what was left of the bridge. Emergency lights flickered and went out one by one. To any observer, the ship was clearly destroyed. But Susan was still alive, and so was her crew. "Report," she whispered into her communicator. "Hull breach simulation complete," her engineer Tony Garcia replied from deep in the ship's hidden core. "All external sensors show critical damage. We're broadcasting the proper distress signals. Anyone scanning us will think we're dead." "Good. What about life support?" "Internal systems are fully operational. The real ship is safe inside the shell we built around it. We can maintain this for weeks if we need to." Susan smiled in the darkness. 3 months ago, this would have been impossible. 3 months ago, humans had never seen alien technology. Now they were using it to fake their own deaths. The Ghost Protocol had been Colonel Brooks's idea. If the aliens thought humans fought like other species, then humans would disappear and fight differently. Dead ships that weren't dead. Destroyed. Bases that were still operational. A whole shadow fleet that existed in the spaces between alien expectations. "Susan," her communications officer called, "I'm picking up Zephyrian signals. 3 ships, approaching from Sector 7. "Perfect. Everyone stay quiet. Let's see what they do." Through her hidden sensors, Susan watched the alien ships approach. They were huge, each one 10 times the size of her vessel. Their hulls were covered in weapon ports and armor plating. They looked like floating fortresses designed to intimidate anyone who saw them. The lead ship moved closer to the Phoenix. Susan could hear their communications, translated by the computers. Debris analysis confirms human vessel destruction. No life signs detected. Standard result. These creatures cannot withstand our weapons. Continue patrol. Sector 7 is secure. The alien ships moved away, satisfied that another human vessel had been eliminated. They had no idea they were being watched. "Tony," Susan whispered, "start recording everything. I want to know how their engines work, how their weapons charge, how their shields operate, everything." For 6 hours, Susan's crew studied the alien patrol. They learned how the Zephyrians moved through space, how they communicated, how they thought. The aliens were confident, maybe too confident. They followed the same routes every day. They used the same signals. They never changed their patterns because they never expected to be hunted. That was their mistake. "Captain," her tactical officer, Lieutenant Amy Foster, called softly. "I think I found something interesting." "What is it?" "Their shields. They're incredibly strong against energy weapons and kinetic impacts, but they're designed to stop attacks from outside the ship." "And? What if the attack came from inside?" Susan thought about this. "You mean sabotage?" "Not exactly. Watch this sensor reading." Amy brought up a display showing the alien ship's internal structure. "See these conduits running through the hull? Those carry power to the shields and weapons. If something small got inside those conduits, the whole system would fail," Susan finished. "But how do we get something inside their ship?" Tony's voice came over the communicator. "I might have an idea about that." An hour later, Tony had explained his plan. It was crazy, dangerous, and probably impossible. It was also exactly the kind of thing humans would try. "We can't fight their ships directly," Tony said. "But we don't have to. We just have to get close enough to plant some surprises." "What kind of surprises?" "Nanobots. Microscopic machines that can eat through metal and electronics. We attach them to the outside of their hulls when they're not looking. The bots work their way inside, find the power conduits, and start causing problems." Amy looked excited. "Problems like what?" "Random system failures, weapons that misfire, shields that drop at the wrong moment, navigation errors, life support, glitches. Nothing that looks like sabotage, just bad luck." Susan considered this. "How long would it take?" "Depends on how many bots we use. A few dozen could cause minor problems within days. A few thousand could cripple a ship within hours. And they would never know what hit them? That's the beauty of it. The bots are too small to detect with normal sensors. They look like space dust. By the time the aliens figure out what's happening, it's too late." Susan made her decision. "Do it. But we start small. One ship, minor problems. We need to test this before we try anything bigger." Over the next week, Susan's crew perfected their technique. They would drift close to alien ships while pretending to be debris. Then they would launch clouds of nanobots that attached themselves to alien hulls like tiny parasites. The first results were small but promising. An alien patrol ship suffered a navigation error and flew off course for 3 hours. Another ship had weapon targeting problems during a training exercise. A third ship lost artificial gravity in one section for an entire day. The aliens blamed equipment failures and bad maintenance. They never suspected they were under attack. "This is working," Amy reported after their 5th successful mission. "But we're only hitting patrol ships. The real targets are their command vessels and supply ships." "I know," Susan said. "But we need to be patient. If we move too fast, they'll figure out what's happening." That patience was about to pay off. Susan's sensors detected something new approaching their hiding spot. It wasn't a patrol ship or a destroyer. It was a supply convoy carrying fuel and ammunition to the alien fleet. "Tony," Susan called. "How many nanobots do we have left?" "About 10,000, ready for deployment." "Perfect. Amy, I want you to plot an intercept course for that convoy. We're going to give them a gift they'll never forget." The supply convoy consisted of 3 massive cargo ships protected by 2 escort vessels. They were traveling slowly, following a predictable route between alien bases. They had no idea that death was drifting toward them, disguised as space debris. Susan waited until the convoy was directly ahead before acting. "Launch nanobots! Target all 5 ships!" Invisible clouds of microscopic machines spread out toward the alien vessels. Within minutes, thousands of tiny robots were attaching themselves to alien hulls and beginning their work. "How long before we see results?" Susan asked. "Could be hours, could be days," Tony replied. "Depends on what they find first." They didn't have to wait long. 6 hours later, the first ship in the convoy suffered a catastrophic fuel leak. The ship didn't explode, but it lost power and began drifting helplessly. 2 hours after that, the second ship's navigation system failed completely. It started flying in circles, unable to determine which direction was forward. The third ship lost its artificial gravity, causing tons of cargo to float around inside the hull and damage critical systems. The escort ships tried to help, but they were having their own problems. One ship's weapons kept misfiring, shooting at empty space. The other ship's life support systems began shutting down randomly, forcing the crew to work in emergency suits. Susan watched the chaos with satisfaction. 5 alien ships were now crippled or destroyed, and they had no idea why. "Captain," Amy said, "I'm receiving distress calls from the convoy. They're requesting immediate assistance." "Let them call," Susan replied. "Their friends are about to have problems of their own." She was right. Over the next 3 days, more alien ships arrived to help the disabled convoy. Susan's crew attacked each one with nanobots, spreading the chaos further and further. Soon, 12 alien ships were drifting helplessly in space, their crews frantically trying to repair systems that kept failing for no apparent reason. The aliens sent out investigators to determine what was causing the equipment failures. The investigators' ships suffered mysterious problems too. "They're starting to panic," Amy observed, listening to alien communications. "They think there's some kind of plague affecting their technology." "Good," Susan said. "Let them think that. The more confused they are, the easier our job becomes." But Susan knew this was just the beginning. The Ghost Protocol was working, but it was only the first phase of humanity's response. Soon, other human ships would begin their own attacks. The aliens had started a war thinking they were conducting a simple pacification operation. They were about to learn the difference. "Susan," Tony called from engineering. "I've been thinking about our next target." "What did you have in mind?" "Well, we've been hitting individual ships and small convoys, but what if we went after something bigger?" "Like what?" "Like a star base, those big alien space stations that coordinate their fleet movements. If we could take one of those offline..." Susan smiled. The aliens thought they had destroyed humanity's ability to fight back. They thought humans were cowering in their home system, too scared to resist. Soon they would learn how wrong they were. Dr. Kevin Chen stared at the alien data scrolling across his screen and felt his blood turn cold. Not because of what the information said, but because of what it didn't say. He was working in the deep levels of the Global Research Center, 3 miles beneath the Swiss mountains. Around him, hundreds of scientists were analyzing every piece of alien technology and communication Earth's forces had captured. They were trying to understand their enemy. What Kevin had discovered was worse than he had imagined. "Director Walsh," he called to his supervisor, "you need to see this." Director Sarah Walsh walked over, carrying her 3rd cup of coffee of the morning. The entire research team had been working around the clock for weeks. "What have you found?" "Kevin, I've been analyzing the Zephyrian Empire's historical records. The data our ghost ships have been collecting from their computers. I thought it would help us understand their military tactics. And? Sarah, they've done this before. Not once or twice. Dozens of times. Maybe hundreds. Kevin brought up a holographic display showing a star map. Red dots marked the locations of dead worlds. There were too many to count. Each one of these was a civilization that the Zephyrians encountered and destroyed. Some surrendered immediately. Others tried to fight. None of them survived. Sarah set down her coffee. How long has this been going on? According to their records, over 2,000 years. The Zephyrian Empire expands by eliminating any species that might compete with them. They don't negotiate. They don't form alliances. They just kill. But why? What do they gain from genocide? Kevin pulled up another display. That's the thing. They don't gain anything. They're not taking resources or territory. They're not enslaving populations. They're just eliminating potential threats. I don't understand. Neither did I, until I found this. Kevin showed her a psychological profile one of their linguists had assembled from alien communications. The Zephyrians are terrified of competition. Their entire culture is based on the idea that only one species can be dominant in any region of space. Sarah read the profile twice. So they commit genocide out of fear? Exactly. And there's something else. Look at this pattern. Kevin highlighted several star systems on the map. Every species they've destroyed had one thing in common. They were all expanding into space when the Zephyrians found them. Just like us. Just like us. The Zephyrians see any expanding civilization as a future threat that must be eliminated immediately. Sarah sat down heavily. Kevin, how many civilizations are we talking about? At least 47 confirmed extinctions, probably more that aren't in their records. Billions of intelligent beings wiped out because the Zephyrians were afraid of what they might become. The weight of this discovery settled over both scientists. Humanity wasn't just fighting for their own survival. They were fighting for every future civilization that might face the same fate. There's more, Kevin said quietly. I found references to something called the Great Cleansing. It happened about 500 years ago. What was it? A coordinated attack on 12 different species at once. The Zephyrians called it their greatest victory. They eliminated 12 potential rival civilizations in less than a year. Sarah felt sick. How many people died? Conservative estimate, over 50 billion intelligent beings. The number was too large to comprehend. Sarah tried to imagine 50 billion people, but her mind couldn't hold the concept. It was like trying to count all the stars in the sky. Kevin, does anyone else know about this? Not yet. I wanted to verify the data before. I reported it. Send everything to Colonel Brooks immediately. He needs to see this. While Kevin compiled his report, Sarah walked to another section of the research center where Commander Beth Johnson was working on a different project. Beth was analyzing captured alien weapons and technology, looking for weaknesses humans could exploit. Beth, I need to ask you something, Sarah said. In your military opinion, could the Zephyrians be stopped by conventional means? Beth looked up from the alien weapon she was studying. You mean, could we beat them in a straight fight? Ship to ship? Weapon to weapon? Yes. Honestly? Probably not. Their technology is several generations ahead of ours. Their ships are bigger, their weapons are more powerful, their defenses are stronger. In a conventional war, they would probably win. But this isn't a conventional war anymore. The Ghost Protocol is proving that we don't have to fight them on their terms. We can be sneaky. We can be patient. We can hurt them in ways they don't expect. Sarah told Beth about Kevin's discovery, about the 47 extinct civilizations and the billions of dead. Beth's expression grew darker as she listened. So, we're not their first victims. No. And if we lose, we won't be their last. Then we can't lose. Beth picked up the alien weapon again. Sarah, I've been working on something, a new kind of base design. Hidden facilities that the aliens can't detect. What kind of facilities? Weapons factories, ship construction yards, training centers, all built inside asteroids and dead moons where the aliens won't think to look. Beth activated a holographic display showing her plans. We can't match their big ships and space stations, but we can build lots of small facilities scattered throughout space. Even if they find some, they'll never find them all. How many are you planning? Hundreds, maybe thousands. Each one capable of building ships and weapons. Each one hidden and self-sufficient. Sarah studied the plans. This would take years to complete. Not if we work fast, and not if we use automation. We send out construction robots to build the facilities while we're fighting the main war. By the time the aliens figure out what we're doing, we'll have an entire hidden infrastructure. This was the kind of thinking that might save humanity. Not trying to match alien strength with human strength, but using human cleverness to fight differently. Beth, there's something else Kevin found. The Zephyrians have done this to dozens of other species. Every one of those species probably had their own technologies, their own weapons, their own ways of fighting. And what if some of those technologies are still out there? What if we could find them and use them? Beth's eyes lit up. Salvage operations, search the dead worlds for anything useful. Exactly. Weapons the Zephyrians have never seen before. Technologies they don't understand. Maybe even allies. Allies? Think about it. The Zephyrians have been committing genocide for 2,000 years. There must be survivors somewhere. Hidden colonies, refugee populations, people who escaped the massacres. Beth started pacing excitedly. If we could find them, unite them, we could build a coalition. Every species the Zephyrians have wronged, working together for revenge. I like it. But first, we need to survive long enough to make contact. Sarah nodded. Kevin's data shows that the Zephyrians always follow the same pattern. First, they destroy the colonies to send a message. Then they wait for surrender. If the species doesn't surrender, they attack the home world directly. How long do we have? Based on their historical pattern, maybe 6 months, maybe less. Then we better work fast. Over the next several hours, Sarah, Kevin, and Beth developed a comprehensive plan. Earth would become the center of a hidden network of bases and facilities scattered throughout space. Human ships would search dead worlds for useful technology and possible survivors. The Ghost Protocol would continue harassing alien forces while the larger plan developed. It was ambitious, dangerous, and probably impossible. It was also humanity's only hope. There's one more thing, Kevin said as they finished their planning. I found something in the alien records about Earth specifically. What about it? The Zephyrians have been watching us for 50 years. They know more about human civilization than we realized. Sarah felt her stomach drop. What do they know? Everything. Our military capabilities, our technology levels, our population centers. They've been studying us, waiting for the right moment to attack. So, why did they wait so long? Because we weren't a threat before. We had barely started exploring space. But in the last 10 years, our expansion accelerated. New colonies, new ships, new technologies. We crossed some kind of threshold that made them decide to act. Beth looked grim. So they've been planning this attack for decades. At least. Maybe longer. Then they know about our weaknesses, too. Yes. But Kevin, there's something they don't know. What's that? They don't know about our strengths. They studied us when we were peaceful. They don't understand what humans become when you threaten our families. Sarah looked at the star map showing all the dead civilizations. 47 species that had fought and lost. 47 worlds that had fallen to Zephyrian genocide, but none of those species had been human. Gentlemen, she said, I think it's time to show the Zephyrians what they're really dealing with. Admiral Paul Davis stood in the war room deep beneath Cheyenne Mountain, looking at a display that would have been impossible 6 months ago. Instead of showing Earth's defenses, The screen showed the locations of 300 hidden human ships scattered throughout local space. Each ship was small, fast, and nearly invisible to alien sensors. Each carried a crew of 3 and weapons designed for one purpose: to make alien ships disappear without a trace. Operation Nightfall is ready to begin, Colonel Brooks announced to the assembled officers. All ghost ships are in position. Davis nodded. After months of preparation, humanity was finally ready to show the Zephyrians what a real war looked like. The aliens thought they had won by destroying the colonies. They thought humans were cowering in their home system, too frightened to fight back. They were about to learn how wrong they were. "Status report," Davis ordered. "Ghost Fleet Alpha is positioned along the main Zephyrian supply route," reported Commander Johnson. 60 ships ready to intercept cargo vessels. "Ghost Fleet Beta has surrounded the alien forward base in Sector 12, added Captain Morrison. 100 ships ready for coordinated strike. Ghost Fleet Gamma is monitoring alien patrol patterns throughout the region, finished Lieutenant Colonel Foster. 80 ships ready to eliminate isolated targets. Davis looked at each officer in turn. These people had volunteered for a mission that would probably get them killed. They were going out in small ships to fight an enemy with superior technology and overwhelming numbers. They were doing it because someone had to, and because no one else could. "Ladies and gentlemen," Davis said, "6 months ago, the Zephyrians committed genocide against our people. They killed 5 million innocent civilians. They threatened to destroy Earth if we didn't surrender." He paused, looking around the room. "Today, we begin teaching them why that was a mistake." The operation began with Lieutenant Amy Foster's squadron. She was leading 12 ghost ships toward a Zephyrian supply convoy carrying fuel and ammunition to their forward bases. The convoy consisted of 5 cargo ships and 2 escorts traveling along a route they had used dozens of times before. Amy's ships approached invisibly, looking like space debris on alien sensors. They had practiced this maneuver hundreds of times in simulation. Now they would find out if it worked in reality. "All ships, this is Amy," she transmitted on a secure channel. "Target the escorts first. We need those cargo ships intact." "Copy, Amy." "Wolf 2 ready?" "Wolf 3 in position." "Wolf 4 standing by." Amy watched the alien ships through her hidden sensors. The escorts were massive destroyers, each one capable of destroying her entire squadron in seconds. But they would never get the chance. "All ships fire on my mark. 3, 2, 1, mark." 12 small human ships opened fire simultaneously. Their weapons weren't powerful enough to penetrate alien shields in normal combat. But these weren't normal weapons, and this wasn't normal combat. Each human ship fired a stream of nanobots designed to eat through alien hulls. The tiny machines attached themselves to the escort ships and began their work immediately. Within minutes, both alien destroyers were suffering catastrophic system failures. Their weapons powered down, their shields collapsed, and their engines shut off. The ships began drifting helplessly as their crews tried desperately to figure out what was happening. "Escorts neutralized," Amy reported. "Moving on cargo ships. The cargo vessels tried to flee, but they were too slow and too big to escape." Amy's squadron surrounded them and began boarding operations. "Amy to base," she transmitted 20 minutes later. 5 cargo ships captured intact. "We have fuel, ammunition, and something else. You're going to want to see this." "What is it?" Davis asked from the command center. "Alien computer cores with navigation data. We now know the location of every Zephyrian base within 50 light years." Davis smiled grimly. "Outstanding work, Lieutenant. Proceed to Phase 2. Phase 2 involved Captain Ray Thompson's squadron attacking an isolated alien patrol. Thompson had been hunting this particular group of ships for 2 weeks, learning their patterns and waiting for the perfect moment to strike. The moment came when the patrol split up to investigate what appeared to be wreckage from a human colony ship. In reality, it was bait designed to separate the alien vessels so they could be eliminated one at a time. "Ray to all units," Thompson transmitted. 3 targets. Moving to investigate false debris field. Wolfpack 7, take the lead. Ship. Wolfpack 8, you have the trailer. I'll handle the middle vessel. Copy, Ray. Moving to intercept. Thompson's ship approached the alien vessel while cloaked as a piece of floating debris. He waited until he was within a few kilometers before acting. Deploying boarding pods, he announced. Small, nearly invisible pods launched from Thompson's ship and attached themselves to the alien hull. Each pod contained a squad of human soldiers equipped with weapons designed specifically for fighting aliens in close quarters. The boarding operation took less than an hour. The alien crew never understood what was happening. One moment their ship was functioning normally, the next moment human soldiers were moving through their corridors, systematically shutting down every system. "Ray to base," Thompson reported. "Target neutralized. Ship captured intact with full crew for interrogation." "Excellent. Return to base for debriefing." Similar operations were taking place throughout Zephyrian space. Human ghost ships appeared. Without warning, struck their targets and vanished before reinforcements could arrive. The aliens began losing ships faster than they could replace them. War Commander HFY was becoming increasingly frustrated. In the past month, his forces had lost 37 ships to mysterious equipment failures and accidents. Supply convoys were disappearing. Patrol ships were going missing. Entire squads of vessels were being found drifting in space with their crews either dead or missing. "Status report," HFY demanded from his flagship. 17 more ships reported equipment failures in the past day, his aide reported nervously. The technical crews can find no explanation for the malfunctions. "What about the missing patrols?" "No trace. They simply vanished. No distress signals, no debris, nothing." HFY stared at the tactical display showing his shrinking fleet. "These humans are supposed to be cowering in their home system. How are they causing so much damage?" "Sir, perhaps they have hidden ships we don't know about?" "Impossible. Our intelligence is complete. We know every human vessel and facility." "Then how do you explain the losses?" HFY had no answer. In his 200 years of military service, he had never encountered anything like this. Enemies were supposed to fight with big ships and direct attacks. They were supposed to be visible and targetable. They weren't supposed to strike from shadows and vanish like ghosts. "Double all patrols," he ordered. "I want every square meter of space searched. Find these phantom attackers." "Yes, sir." But doubling the patrols only made things worse. More ships meant more targets for human ghost squadrons. Within a week, HFY had lost another 20 vessels. Meanwhile, Admiral Davis was receiving reports from ghost ships throughout the region. The campaign was exceeding all expectations. "Overall status," he requested from Colonel Brooks. "In the past month, we've eliminated or captured 86 alien ships," Brooks reported. "We've seized 17 supply convoys, destroyed 3 forward bases, and captured over 400 alien prisoners for interrogation." "Our losses?" 12 ships, 36 personnel, less than 4% casualties. Davis was amazed. Human forces were inflicting massive damage on the enemy while suffering minimal losses themselves. It was the kind of victory ratio that military commanders could only dream about. What about intelligence gathering? "We've learned more about the Zephyrian Empire in the past month than in the previous 6 months combined. Ship designs, fleet, movements, command structure, communication protocols. We know how they think and how they fight." "And the aliens? What do they know about us?" "Nothing. They still think our ships were all destroyed in the initial attack. They have no idea we're operating a ghost fleet." Davis nodded with satisfaction. "Excellent. Begin Phase 3. Phase 3 was more ambitious than anything they had attempted before. Instead of attacking individual ships or small groups, human forces would target an entire alien starbase. The base was located in an asteroid field 30 light-years from Earth. It served as a command center for alien operations in the region and housed over 10,000 Zephyrian personnel. Taking it would require coordination between multiple ghost squadrons and careful timing. But if successful, it would deal a crippling blow to alien operations. All squadron leaders. This is Admiral Davis, he broadcast on secure channels. Operation Nightfall Phase 3 is authorized. Show them what happens when you attack humanity. Throughout space, human ghost ships began moving toward their target. The aliens had started a war by committing genocide. Now they were about to learn what war really meant. The swarm was awake, and it was hungry for revenge. Prince Alvrin Kethavar stood on the bridge of his flagship and watched the stars move past. The Shadow Spear was the pride of the Zephyrian fleet. Its black hull gleamed with energy shields that could stop any weapon. The ship was 3 miles long and carried enough firepower to destroy a planet. Alvrin was young for a prince. At 25 years old, he had never led a real battle. His father, Emperor Kethvar, ruled the Zephyrian Empire with an iron fist. The Empire controlled 40 star systems and had crushed every enemy they faced. But the Emperor was getting old. The Imperial Council watched Alvrin closely. They wanted to see if he could lead like his father. The young prince wore the traditional armor of his house. Dark metal plates covered his chest and arms. At his side hung the Void Blade, a weapon passed down through his family for 1,000 years. The blade could cut through any material known to exist. It marked him as the rightful heir to the throne. "My prince," said Commander Thexol, his second-in-command. "Our scouts have found something interesting." Alvrin turned from the window. "What is it?" "A human ship, alone in the Meridian sector. It appears to be a cargo vessel." The prince smiled. Humans were new to this part of space. The Zephyrian intelligence reports said they were weak. Their ships were slow and poorly armed. Their military was small and scattered across many worlds. Most important, they had never faced a real enemy before. "Show me," Alvrin ordered. The main screen lit up with an image of the human ship. It was much smaller than the Shadow Spear. The hull was white and blue with human writing on the side. It looked like a flying box with engines attached. "Ship identification. Reads as the Wanderer," reported the sensor officer. "Cargo-class vessel. Crew of 12. No escort ships detected." Alvrin studied the image. This was perfect. His first victory would be against the humans. When he brought their ship back as a prize, the Imperial Council would see his strength. His father would be proud. The other noble houses would respect him. "What is their cargo?" he asked. "Medical supplies and food, my prince. They appear to be heading to one of their colony worlds." Even better, Alvrin thought. Taking supplies meant to help human civilians would send a clear message. The Zephyrian Empire was coming to claim this sector of space. Any humans who stayed would serve, as slaves or die. "Commander Thexol, signal the fleet. We attack in 10 minutes. The commander bowed. "Yes, my prince. Should we demand their surrender first?" Alvrin considered this. His father had taught him that mercy was weakness. The strong took what they wanted. The weak begged for scraps. "No. We show them what happens when they enter Zephyrian space without permission." The bridge crew moved quickly to prepare for battle. Alvrin had brought 5 ships with him on this hunt. Besides the Shadow Spear, there were 2 heavy cruisers and 2 destroyer escorts. Each ship was more powerful than anything the humans had built. The tactical officer called out readings. "Enemy ship is holding course. No change in speed. They do not appear to know we are here." "Their sensors are weak," Commander Thexol noted. "Our stealth systems are working perfectly." Alvrin nodded. Everything was going according to plan. The humans would never see the attack coming. By the time they detected the Zephyrian ships, it would be too late to run or fight back. He opened a channel to the other ships in his small fleet. "This is Prince Alvrin. Today we claim our first prize from the humans. Show no mercy. Destroy their engines first, then their weapons. I want prisoners to question about their military strength." The ship captains acknowledged his orders. Alvrin could hear the excitement in their voices. Like him, most of them had never fought a real battle. They had trained for years, but only against practice targets or weak pirates. This would be their first taste of conquest. The prince walked to his command chair and sat down. The void blade felt heavy at his side. Soon he would draw it in victory over the humans. The ancient weapon would taste alien blood for the first time in his lifetime. "Approaching attack range," the helmsman reported. "All ships ready." Alvrin looked at the human vessel on the screen. It continued on its path, unaware of the death coming toward it. The crew inside probably thought they were safe. They might be talking about their families back home or planning what to do when they reached their destination. None of them knew they had minutes left to live. "My prince," the weapons officer said. "Plasma torpedoes loaded and ready. Particle beams charged. All systems show green." The young prince stood up. This was his moment. His first command decision that would be written in the history books. Future Zephyrian children would learn about the day Prince Alvrin began the conquest of human space. "Signal from the human ship," the communications officer announced suddenly. Alvrin frowned. "What do they want?" "They are sending a standard greeting message. They want to know if we need assistance." The bridge crew laughed. Even facing 5 warships, the humans offered help instead of running away. They truly were as weak and foolish as the intelligence reports claimed. "Do not answer," Alvrin ordered. "Let them wonder until the last second." He thought about his father back on the homeworld. Emperor Kethvar had conquered 12 species during his reign. Each victory had made the empire stronger and more feared. Now it was Alvrin's turn to add to that legacy. The tactical display showed the human ship growing larger as they approached. Alvrin could see details now. There were windows along the hull where the crew worked and lived. Soon those windows would be holes venting atmosphere into space. "Range achieved, my prince," the weapons officer reported. "Ready to fire on your command." Alvrin drew the void blade. The ancient metal seemed to sing as it left its sheath. He pointed the weapon at the image of the human ship. "All ships," he said into the communication system. "This is Prince Alvrin Kethvar, heir to the Zephyrian throne and bearer of the void blade. Today we begin the conquest of human space. Fire!" The shadow spear shook as its weapons fired. Bright streams of energy lanced out toward the Wanderer. The other ships in the fleet fired at the same time, space filled with deadly light as plasma torpedoes and particle beams reached out to destroy the human vessel. Alvrin watched with satisfaction. This was only the beginning. Soon, the entire human race would kneel before the might of the Zephyrian Empire, and he would be the one to make it happen.